The richest families in the world teach their kids this thing about money. Stay tuned. What's up, FlowChat fam? Chris, your CEO and co-founder of FlowChat. And we're talking to real entrepreneurs that are getting real results. And the results that this entrepreneur we're talking to are top 1%, top 0.5%. We're going to be talking about topics like how he lost $10 million. Did he actually IPO or not? We're going to find that out. Why is Tony Robbins and his team tracking him down? He just spoke at Date with Destiny like a few days ago. Why is all this happening? And the worst thing, well, it's the best thing, but it's the worst thing. It's those painful good things, if you know what I mean. In just a couple sentences, this man destroyed my family legacy, and it's in the process of being rebuilt to be bigger and stronger than ever before. How is all this happening? Well, we got to have a conversation together today and cover these topics with none other than Scott. How's it going, Scott?
Hey, Chris. I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm excited. We've got multiple things to talk about. We just went through some of the bullet points, but everyone meet Scott. Scott, meet the audience. We're going to have a fun conversation. Let's start here. The main one thing that I know you have a huge passion about, and this is kind of in the context of what we met, is family legacy. But let me throw some problems your way, because our audience are entrepreneurs. They're building businesses, providing product and services out to the world. I want to start with spouse and or kid resentment, because building a family and building a business and marriage, it's easy? Question mark? No, it's really, really hard. And balancing both, if balance is even the right word, you have a very unique perspective to start kind of at this point. How do we balance those two and manage the support or lack of where resentment's growing?
Yeah, man, this is a powerful one. So this is my world. Just so everyone is clear, we've helped about 7 million families now in all of our companies, kids and parents. And what we care about is capable, confident, and connected kids and parents, right? This is family legacy. Family legacy is not like the Rothschilds and Vanderbilts. Okay, that's not what, in fact, a lot of people want that, and you don't want that. If you look at their legacy, there's crazy stuff everywhere. There's estrangement, addiction, divorce, destruction, like drug abuse, violence, murder. Like, you don't want a legacy like that, right? What's more important is actually your heritage, not your inheritance, right? That's a big thing we teach. So it's more about what you leave in your kids than we can probably unpack that more in a minute. But resentment comes when you use money or stuff to bribe, coerce, and buy the love of your kids and grandkids. That's what happens. So parents, if you want to think about this practically, it starts with parents buying everything for their kids. You know, we have an answer in our training of exactly how to answer kids who ask you for stuff and money all the time. If you say no every time, you're the bad guy. If you say yes every time, you're entitling them and spoiling them and ruining their future. So what is that answer, right? We have strategies for all of this with our home economy. But I think a lot of it does come down to resentment happens when there's a gap between the expectations in the home and the kid's ability to create value in the home, and how they're tying identity to all these things. That's what creates all these breakages with parents and kids. So, there's arguments over chores. Kids take for granted that parents should pay for everything. Parents don't know how to discipline the right way. By the way, all discipline is a lack of training. That's what that is. All discipline in your home is a reactive response to a lack of training on the front end.
Scott, are you telling me that the responsibility, it is our fault? It does come back to us as leaders. Yeah. Like that's always the punchline, right? Yep. But I think that's also a really powerful and a really good thing, because as soon as we see that, it's like we get to take the power and the responsibility back. And there's something specific that I'd like you to speak a little bit more on in just a bit here that caught my attention. Here's the really fine line, but the very black and white difference of what you are articulating is, what is legacy? Oh, I'm going to build a business and have the resources that I never had so they can my kids can live the life I never did. but there's this, you're like, what is your legacy in the business that you build that fails in the second or third generation anyway? Or is it more in who you're building rather than what you're building? You want to speak to
Yes.
that?
Yeah, that's the whole point. It's more about what you leave in your kids than to them. 90% of generational wealth transfer is gone by the grandkids. And there's all the destruction of the family underneath that number. It does not matter how many dollars you die with in your bank account. What matters is what you're passing on in the family values, the skills, the mindsets, your family faith, the things you care about most. That's truly what matters most to your kids. And everybody in the entire finance world and the entire business world, they don't talk about this. All they want you to do is grow, sustain, get more, passive income, residual, grow your net worth. For what? For what? Yes, you want to cover your expenses and cover your life. But if your goal is to die with a ton of stuff to give to future generations, you're going to crush their ability to create value. They're not going to risk. They're not going to grow. They're not going to learn. They're going to have imposter syndrome, lottery ticket syndrome. This is what trust fund kids are all about. Like they're not qualified for the resources. So we need to focus on the mindsets and skill sets and the family values to pass on to our kids. That's how you build true legacy. And so that's what we dive into huge every day with all of the families we serve.
One of the unexpected massive benefits to the principle, and we'll get into some of the principles and methodologies that you have that you're using to actually create real results. We even need to cover the study that you reached out to like who knows how many of the richest families and the discoveries you found. But here's one thing that stood out to me is when you look at, everyone listening, watching, when you're looking at business, when you've been stuck for whatever reason, beating your head against the wall. When you look at the same problem from a completely different perspective, it unlocks new breakthrough. And what you talk about so well, Scott, is looking at the eyes of value, delivering a product and service through the eyes of a child. Number one, it's way simpler. Number two, it's fun and fresh. And let's be honest, being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. And we get kind of stuck in our ways and our creativity dies. But yet looking at it through the eyes of youth, it revitalizes. And then when we discover we can do it together, it's like, this is crazy. So there's a book you came out with that really addresses this. Value Creation Kid. I want everyone to see this. Can you talk us through this a little bit?
Yeah. So Value Creation Kid, that's our bestseller. The healthy struggles your children need to succeed. It's basically the best parenting book in the world. We don't even like this idea of gentle parenting, helicopter parenting, free range parenting, whatever. There's a million of them.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is teaching your kids to create value. And how did we come to this conclusion? For the last 10 years in all my companies, I've had a bunch of exits, millions of customers, 1,000 employees. The number one thing we saw is nobody knows how to pass on money skills to kids. Okay. It's just, for some reason, it's not translating very well. Schools don't teach it. Banks don't even care about you. And the worst is like these kids' bank accounts where you just put money on a debit card for your kids to spend. That's not teaching them about money. I won't say all the names, but everybody listening probably knows who I'm talking about. All the other bank accounts for kids is just more socialism. It does not actually work. And so what I've done for the last 10 years is I've searched the world to find the best 100 families across the millions that we've served. If they have kids and grandkids and even great grandkids, some of them, that blow by the previous generation in every metric, they're doing something special. In family faith, the values of the family, their skills, their traits, their impact in the world, their ability to create value, their financial skills. If every generation blows by the previous, like significantly, they're doing something right, and I wanted to study them. So I've tracked down these 100. These are all friends of ours now. We're in a private dinner table group, and we learn how to create true family legacy. And what we found is they do about 23 things the same way. All of them have the same links to those same 23 strategies, and almost nobody else in the world does them. So that's our mission, is to get this out to the world. So we do workshops and courses, and we built the Gravy Stack app to do the money side of it for kids and families. to really teach them value creation. But this is the first point we teach on. The best strategy that all of them focused on was how to create value. If you teach your kids to create value first, not money, because money is a store of value. So go back a step, right? Think about it through the eyes of a kid. Let's teach kids to create value in the world. And there's 3 types of value: material value, emotional value, and spiritual value. And kids can do those at all times in any situation. So material value is like what you create and produce, the problems you solve, the wants and needs. A lot of people in business do this. Anybody gets a paycheck the right way is doing those things to create material value in the world. Kids need to learn that from an early age. But there's more. It's not just material value where the money is usually the outcome. There's emotional value. It's how you think and how you feel and how you help other people think and feel better. This is what makes for great friends, great family members, team captains, the leader of the group. This is what makes for an amazing person all around. And then you have spiritual value. This is how you love and live your life and connect other people to something greater than themselves, to God, right? I love Jesus, best form of spiritual value out there, in my opinion. But there's a lot of ways to create that spiritual value. Companies that have an incredible mission or culture, they draw people out of themselves to something higher. When we said we were going to put a man on the moon in the 60s and bring him home safely, that basically put our whole country together. That was the last time our country was so united, right? Immense spiritual value for getting people out of their own mind, out of their selfishness, and onto a greater purpose and calling for their life. So those are the 3 types of value, and that's what we train families on. If you just focus on money, it becomes an identity. So the problem we saw when we interviewed all these families, we actually studied a ton of families as well. Like, we surveyed them. We found out that money was the biggest fight in the home that the kids saw. Sex and money. But the kids don't see the first one. That's in the bedroom. Money, they saw. Yeah, hopefully not. Sometimes there's crazy things, but the money issue was there. So parents say things like, we can't afford this. You know how much this costs? Money doesn't grow on trees. Do you know how hard I worked to get this for you guys and you just took it for granted or you blew it? Like, we can't have that. You can't have that. They see their parents stress over debt. They stress over bills. They fight about money. It's the biggest cause of divorce in America. And you better believe the kids see right through it. So kids don't even want to talk about money. They don't even want to address it. They're like, forget it. I'll deal with it when I'm an adult and I probably get into my own debt and make my own bad decisions. And parents have no idea and no roadmap about how to teach their kids this stuff. So this is our mission, is to really make the money conversations, teaching the 7 money skills, the home economy system, all the things we teach in Gravy Stack, is how you can actually transform this negative view of money that most kids have into a value creation mindset. Yeah. And it's like an unfair advantage for kids. It really is. It's like a superpower for them. Instead of making money their identity or seeing money as evil and bad, which is a poverty mindset, they teach value creation first. And that gives kids that superpower.
You guys want to know a little secret listening and watching this? When you start doing this for and with your kids, you're going to start realizing, like, why wasn't I doing that? What's funny is you'll start seeing your own business through this lens, and you'll be thinking about your C-suite. You'll be thinking about your managers. You'll be thinking about your employees and your team culture. And you're like, oh, they're kind of just like kids that haven't fully grown up yet too. Now, Scott, you might find this funny, but this is something I've always told myself. I was like, I don't think people wake up and be like, you know what sounds great today? Sucking. I just really want to like go to work and just really suck. And then I'll get at the end of the day, I'm like, yeah, that was totally worth. Like, I don't think people think that. I think they want to win, but why don't they? It's because they don't know how. And the values that you're talking about, like, they're so simple that a kid understands, but these are the exact things we need to be focused on, not just for our kids in our house and those conversations, but also just for our real life business. Here's something that I was hoping you could elaborate a little bit more on. So I'm starting to. I talked to my wife after we got connected last week. I was like, "Babe, check this out," and my pitch began. But it went. She's totally in for this. So it was great. So we got the book, and we're starting to go through the book. We've got Gravy Stack, which we need to talk about. Stay tuned, everyone listening, watch. You got to hear some of this stuff, and watch, because you guys listening, watching this, the pain that Scott is describing in the home. I'm in my home office right now, so I keep looking out here because I started having these conversations with my kids that Scott's talking about. And you know what the response was? It wasn't like, I don't want to. It was like, we can make money. We can do this. They're lit up. We're going to put like the checklist thing map that you guys, there's a purpose. There's a mission. It's pulling us together. We're having conversations, value-driven conversations together. And so Scott, this is the piece I want you to like everyone listening, watching, you can have this transformation too. And here's one thing that really got me excited. Scott, you gave me an excuse to pay them way more money on a weekly basis. Not for being a part of the family, which you need to cover, but for doing gigs, as you describe them. But also, I don't have to pay any more. As I'm paying the kids, I'm not paying any extra fees because they're now responsible to pay for those things. Can you elaborate for everyone what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so this is the genius of our Gravy Stack app. Everybody else just puts debit card money on funds on a debit card for kids to blow. Your kids do not need to learn how to spend your money. They're never going to learn generosity if you just give them like $10 to put in the offering plate or give to someone else. They're not going to care about spending if you just put allowance on their debit card. It doesn't work. It's basically more codependency and socialism, in my opinion. Kids have to learn value creation. And so the Gravy Stack app does what we call the home economy. And it's 3 E's. Expectations, expenses, extra pay opportunities, which we call gigs. All right. So you start with expectations. Here's the things you guys we're not paying for. You never get paid to like make your bed, clean your room, dishes, trash, homework first, right? Things like that. That's your role in the home. And once those are established, other things are free game. And to earn extra funds to do those gigs, you now have expenses that you're going to be in charge of paying for that we used to pay for. Things like toys, books, games, technology, social outings with friends, birthday presents for your friends' parties. How many people listening? I know you're all listening have done this many times. You buy the present, you wrap the present, your kid just chucks it on the table. That's not a generous kid. If they make the extra money, and in our money machine for Gravy Stack, it auto splits between their save, spend, and share. And we have investing coming. Now they know what's left for them to cover their own expense categories that you gave them right there in the app. So they know if I'm going to go to this party, I need to get the toy for my friend. It's $14. Well, I got to make $19 because I'm going to save and share first. And then the net, I got to have that in my account to get the present. If you do that one little move, and there's 100 of these examples, that kid is going to get the present. You can help them wrap it. They're going to walk into the party, hand it to the kid and say, open this right now. I want to see your face. I got this for you. And that's a generous kid for life. That's a 25-year-old adult that now wants to get presents and gifts for their friends and celebrate their friends more. That's an adult that's going to care about their neighbor way more. That's an adult that's going to become more generous. Kids who earn are kids who learn. And so the last E, once you've given them expenses to be in charge of, guess what, mom and dad? You just saved hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month that they're now in charge of. So you can use that money and pay them in gigs. And gigs are not what you think. Don't say chores. Chores is a bad word. And this is way more than chores. When people think of chores, it's basically like a small checklist that they fight their kids about every week. That's what it is. They don't have an incentive. In either they're compliant kids and they do it, or they're not compliant kids and you argue over it every single week.
Yeah.
What we're saying is set your expectations first, give them expenses, and now give them gigs to do around the house that are way broader and way more all-encompassing that can make your life at home incredibly joyful. So yes, it's things like make a meal, sweep the garage, outdoors work in the yard, clean a bathroom, sweep the floors, all these different things that you'd consider to be. It's way more than normal chores, right? Those are our basic gigs. But then we have over 100 more challenges and brain gigs that we should be paying our kids to do. So here's a good example. the subscription hunt. In our app, we have a game that the kids play to cancel real subscriptions in the home. And the parents, like, they pull up the last few months with the kids of expenses, and the kids walk through with them and find things to cancel. Kids as young as 8 years old could do this. And then they cancel them. And on the average family that just did that one challenge in our app, they saved $547.
Oh my gosh.
The average, that means there's families that have saved thousands of dollars doing that, because you don't know what's the one time a year pay, what's the extra stuff. Nobody has time to do this every month, so they just let this stuff ride.
Yeah.
You just bleed money. And if you do this experience with your kids and maybe you give them, 20% of the savings, it's a great gig. It's an amazing gig. And we had a family that just saved $1,200 doing that. Just texted us the answer. I mean, that'll pay for our app for 10 years right there. Right.
Yeah.
So this stuff is so critical. And brain gigs are things that kids do with their brain to create value. Why are we not teaching our kids to make money using their brain? That's what you and I do every day. Our brain is our business. And why aren't we teaching kids this? All we do with kids is like, do your homework and do it on time and get good grades. You can go to some, college and get some degree that's not worth anything and find your career in 20 years. What's more important is using their brain to create value and earn money with it. So these are like podcasts, TED Talks, books, articles. How about this? No sugar for a week. Why don't you get coupons for the next grocery run? The average family in Gravy Stack that did that challenge is saving 26% on every grocery run, and the kids are doing all the work. Think about that for a minute. Like, that is powerful learning, because the goal is capabilities and skills that give kids confidence for the rest of their life to create value. And unless you put them through the healthy struggles and put them through the cycles, they're never going to learn it. So that's what the wealthiest and the best families and the best legacies, even if they're not billionaires, these are what the best families have always done. But they don't have an easy way to do it, because they have to use whiteboards and Google spreadsheets and checklists, and they have to do it every weekend, and it's annoying, and they do it for a month and then they quit. With Gravy Stack, it's an auto-repeating gigs system. It's a printout every week for the fridge, payday on Saturday night. The kids know exactly what's expected of them, what expenses to cover, and what gigs they can do to earn extra funds to pay for those things. And it's right there every week. It's beautiful.
So everyone listening, watching, there's some that'll be like, where has this been all my life? I wish my dad, my mom I was never told. I had to figure it out. And yet, as you're figuring it out, you're still not quite clear on how to share it and pass it on. You've put the framework in place to share it. Now there's this other group of people that, they're close. They're kind of already in motion going down this path. I'm actually more in this bucket. I'm going to share just a short story with you and the audience here that I've never told before, but it fits this perfect. And Scott, what you just said, what I want people to hear ultimately in the story is what unlocked this for my kids. Because what you just described, we had good things going, but we got stuck. And what you just said unlocked it. So here's the story. On my door over here, my son, he kicks in the door. He's like, Dad. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, you okay? And he's like, I want to get a toy. And I was like, okay, that sounds normal. Of course, he's only in his underwear. He's like the mini Tarzan. It's great. And he's like, can we get one? I was like, of course we can get a toy. And he's like, can we do it right now? And I was like, yeah, but you need money. And he was only 4 at the time. He's 7 now, right? He's 3.5 technically, right? And so he's like, he thought about it a little bit, and he was like, well, how do I get money? I was like, well, you solve problems for other people, and then they give you money for that. So if you solve your own problems and you give yourself money, do you have any more money? No. But if you solve problems for other people, then you create value, like you articulate so well. And he's like, okay, well, how do I create problems, or how do I solve problems for other people? And Scott, I had to catch the words out of my mouth. I was almost like, well, you're too... And this dread went through my whole body. I was like, I will never be that voice for my son or any of my 3 kids. You're too fat. You're too tall. You're too smart. You're too dumb. You're too... The world it'll do its job, but not in this house and not for my son. I was like, so at that moment, I'm like, I don't know, but we're going to figure it out together. My 3.5-year-old son will solve a problem for some other person. There's a whole story that goes on to this. It led through a series of creating some businesses and solving problems, of which their latest one is known as, like you said, what's the point? Getting paid to use your brain and learn and earn. So they formed the Baden Book Club, raising readers and writers to be learners and earners. And here's where we got stuck. They went to the business fair. They did $72 and change in sales their first day and the first couple hours, and they have a recurring model to it. Now, we got to talk about this more at some point, Scott, but Baden Book Club and, gravystack.com go together like a Reese's peanut butter cup, chocolate and peanut butter. They got some fun ideas there that Travis and I got to chat a bit about. But here's a fun punchline for right now today. We started filming videos and doing content, but they got to do so much work and they don't get the benefit. And so it died. It stopped. I don't want to say it died. It stopped. As soon as I talked to him about gravy, this happened last night, Scott. I'm not making this up. I'm like, Emmett, check this out. And I showed him that we started going through the app. We set up the account, right? And you guys, while I'm sharing this, like you guys, like go to the site right now while you're listening. This is gravystack.com. This is what it looks like. Download the app. It's just a small like subscription or whatever. This is an investment that will teach better than whatever education thing you're already paying for. This is pennies and you're going to get way more for it. It's a no-brainer, right? So gravystack.com. So we're doing this with Emmett last night. And I was like, here's the form. What if I told you every book that you read, because we do fun sheets. We have word of the day, sentence of the day, paragraph of the day as their skills build. When you complete that, guess what? You get a Baden buck. Now, instead of a Baden buck, you get a real buck. And what you shared unlocked this, Scott. I want people to get what I'm saying right now, because I was like, you know what? Shoot, I'll pay him $5. I'll pay him $10. Chris, you're going to pay your kid that much? Absolutely, I'm going to, because you know what they're going to do? They're going to be in Gravy Stack looking at their account balance, and they're going to be paying for gymnastics. Now they're going to be paying for we competed on American Ninja Warrior. They like to go to ninja classes. So they're going to be paying for their ninja classes. They're going to be paying for the activities that they're doing that they want to do. Uptown Jungle is indoor playhouse. And so to your point, Scott, we're already paying for that. But now we can engage with them, have a fun conversation. He lit up like, oh, I'm going to have a debit card and it's going to be linked to account. It's going in this, in our household, we call it, the checking jar, the save jar, the give jar, and the invest jar. It's much more you did a way better job with the, share and spend. And it was all the S's. I was like, it's so much better. What are the jars that are in there?
Yeah, it's save, spend, and share, and then we're plugging in investing to the save jar. Yep.
Nice. Okay, so it's to the point. He's thought about it. He's made it way cleaner, and I just want to it's kind of a genuine thank you. I'm sharing a story so people can think about their own patterns in their home. But when we were doing this, now every video he's recording, and words that he's writing, and he's creating these fun sheets for other kids to learn and earn. And we have it's all mapped out. Now he's excited to do it because he's getting paid to learn and earn as he's helping other people do it. So yeah, thanks for that.
You just nailed it, man. I mean, if we can get kids to learn to create value, the whole world will be different. Our mission is 50 million families, financially competent and ready to succeed. So, I look at it this way. You need 4 things for a strong family legacy. And we have 23 strategies, but here are the 4 categories.
Yeah.
Mindsets, skill sets, values, and tools. If you have the right mindsets, the right skill sets, the right values, and the right tools, you will create an amazing family legacy. Gravy Stack is the tool, okay, to help implement the skill sets and mindsets and values. Now we have Dinner Table, right? Yeah. Which is our content platform, and it's our workshops, it's our courses. We bring in families to train on family legacy, because parents have all said what you said earlier. They're like, I didn't know exactly what to do. And so when they get Gravy Stack as the tool, they start to implement. They're like, holy cow, this is transforming my family. I need the rest. Yeah. So now Dinner Table is like our program training for the parents to be able to engage and build that true family legacy.
And so I'm glad you brought this up, because I was just going to go to the fact of I was feeling these things, I'm doing them, and I'm like, Okay, but I know I'm not alone in this. Like, there's got to be other, like, I want to talk to someone that's just starting out like I am. I want to talk to someone that's like 2 years into this. I want to talk to someone that's like in their second generation of, you know what I mean? And so that's dinner table, as you're describing, right? Okay, I know
Yeah.
that was one of the sites. Let me pull this up so everyone can see this. These are great resources, everyone listening, watching. I know this is right up the alley. Here's dinnertable.com. Let's speak on this a little bit more.
Yeah, so dinner tables are training for the parents, and it's getting a whole facelift here in a couple of days. So if people go to the website now and they're listening, they're going to see a whole new, better, 10 times better version. But these are our courses. So we have a family money skills course that people do. It's how we wage war on entitlement. We have our foundations workshop where we take you through the first 6 strategies of family legacy and how to implement them right away in your home. And then we have our dinner table accelerator, which is all 23 strategies. It's a year-long program for the whole family, kids included, monthly calls. We do workshops for you, and we take you. It's really an accelerator. I mean, forget the money side for a second, right? Like, it's $1 million shift for the family with your kids by the age of 30, right there.
Yeah.
It's $1 million shift financially. But what's really important is connecting your family legacy much, much deeper. Like, that's the real goal here. So many people disqualify themselves from legacy, and it kills me. Like, the biggest question I get asked is, where were you 20 years ago?
Yeah.
It's too late for me. I've had a divorce. We've had estranged kids. It's too late for my kids. They're adults. They never got that. That's a lie. That's all a lie. Family legacy can start at any time, and there's a recipe, and you are never too far gone. In fact, I believe the setbacks, like we talked about, are the setups. And it's never too late for your family. Any family can have an unbelievable legacy. They just need to use the recipe. They need to use the patterns that we've outlined. I've seen incredible transformation. People that were in co-parenting situations that completely fixed their kids from the entitlement bug.
Yeah.
Families that they hadn't connected with their kids and grandkids, that this connected them. Families that had no anchor and no roadmap for like how they were going to build strong, deep relationships with generations, setting all of that up and just reporting back every month. They're like, this is insane. We are so close. We're so connected, and we're driving value in future generations like 10 times more than ever before. And that's what we all want as parents. So, I'm a family man with a business, not a businessman with a family. I truly believe that family, it has to be our number one investment. But when you look at your bank and you look at your calendar, like it doesn't always match.
Oh, Scott. Those are the 2 buttons.
Yeah. I mean, people want that, but they see their family as kind of like the leftover because my family's here. My kids are here. I've got work to do. I got to make money. I got to grow. I got to build. And what I'm telling you is, guys, I have had 1,000 employees, and I've coached hundreds of my franchisees in my companies. Every time they got their health out of order, their marriages out of order, their kids' issues, their faith got all messed up, their business tanked. Every single time. It just tanked the business. But if you get your priorities in the right order, your faith, your marriage, your kids, your health, and then your business can fill in the cracks, guess what happens? Your business explodes. It just always, always, always happens. I could talk about this for hours, man, but you get the point.
Yeah, I mean, as you're saying that, it's like if you're tired or stuck or spinning your wheels, you feel like there's way more in you that you untap potential that you haven't got to actualize yet and experience. Typically, I'll speak for myself. And I'm early in my career. There's 4 different companies that I've founded or co-founded, and the times that and it's so tempting, Scott, fall on my own efforts versus relying and leaning on time-tested principles and values. There's multiplication over here and leverage, and there's not over here. My finite brain, I got 24 hours, but when you have multiplication and principles that build on themselves, everyone listening, watching, you see, individuals like Scott, to be honest, and other entrepreneurs, and you're like, how do they do it? The truth is, they're a lot of times not that much smarter, not that much more talented, but they're executing strategies and principles that are way more valuable than how you and I have a lot of times been spending time. And that is awesome news, because there are principles out there. The 100 families you talk to, and you've curated them into 23 takeaways. And in the dinner table, that is the normal culture that is multiplying. And so if you're in a place where you feel like everywhere you look around you is lack, get hooked up with some multiplication and leverage. I promise the momentum and progress, you'll love it. And you can tell that I'm feeling the same energy and excited about it.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, in our accelerator group, there is many of those families that we interviewed to get our strategies are in the group.
Yeah.
So here's one of the other secrets. They're treating their family as their most important business, as their most important investment. They're investing in their family. Yeah. They're getting the right coaching. They're finding people that do this stuff every day, all day, to learn from the best. How they set up trusts, how they set up the home economy, how they set up college and car and 25 and 35 and 45 years old. There's a strategy for all of these things, even with the grandkids. There's strategies for all of it. And so there's many of them are in our group because they're like, we know a lot, but we don't know everything, and we want to get better and better. And so I find it crazy that people will literally pull out their pocketbooks and drop thousands of dollars, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, some people, for their business, for their cash flow, to grow wealth, to grow revenue, to increase the bottom line, but they won't think about that same mindset that made their business so successful. They don't think about that for their family. Yeah. And if you truly believe that your family is your legacy and your family is your most important investment, you've got to find the best in the world to learn from. That's been my mindset all along, because I'm like, I've spent millions of dollars in masterminds and coaching and programs for my business, but I haven't done that for my family. And so that's why we're doing this. We want to provide a place where people can get this training and treat their family as their most important investment for legacy. Because again, it's more about what you leave in your kids than to them, right? Nobody on their deathbed is like, oh man, I just wish I had another $1 million in the bank for my kids to have, or oh man, I wish I'd have worked a little bit harder. Yeah. No, they're like, I wish I'd have loved them a little more. I wish I'd have spent a little more time with them. Man, I want my kids and grandkids to know A, B, and C. That's what people say on their deathbed. I've never met anybody who wishes they had more money at death.
100%. There's numerous studies, that have interviewed those on their deathbed, and that's like, it's not even like 40%, 50%. It's like 80+%. It's a very high percentage of what's being said. Hey, before we close here, we've talked about principles, leaving, building a heritage. What does it mean to have a family name, and what is the culture and the home economy as you describe it, and different tools. Where's the best place? We've talked about gravystack.com. We've talked about dinnertable.com. Are there any other what's the best next step? Guide us.
Yeah. Well, again, Gravy Stack is the tool. So if you got kids ages 6 and up, all the way through college, just grab the app, right? And if people want to click our link below in all the notes, we'll put in all your show notes. Yeah. They can fill out the form with us, and we will email them the 23 strategies that they can start to look through. And we'll give them a free call with our experts to be able to walk them through those and start to implement right away. And then they can engage further. If you want to spend more time with our team, come to a workshop, do a course, that's fine too. Those are the mindsets and the skill sets and the values. That's the best way. Is just go to that link, fill that out, and we will give you all those resources, and we'll give you free 30 days to the app. So as a gift for everybody listening, that's the best next step. I wish I could give you a ton more resources, but the unfortunate thing here is that no one's ever done what we're doing. Like I'd tell you to go get if you really want to, you could go get a bank account for a kid, but it's not going to teach them anything unless you have the setup. You could go get some training on like a will and a trust and the right lawyer. It's not going to teach your kids anything, right? Especially if they don't have the same values and the same mindsets that we're trying to teach. But if you really want to build legacy, unfortunately, there's nowhere else to go. You got to think this way. And so that's why we're putting this together. It's really a blue ocean, man. Like nobody is doing it because nobody's ever thought about it like this. Yeah. And it took someone like us and my team and just interviewing the best in the world for a decade to try to figure out what are the patterns of success for family. I was just on Tony's stage, right? Yeah. He had me at Date with Destiny, and he gave us the most insane 5-minute endorsement I've ever seen. It was crazy. Yes. I have it on film. I'll text it to you. But he basically was like, This world is going the wrong way. Kids are entitled. We need to wage war on entitlement. Kids are not teaching
Yeah.
value creation. Parents are just giving them everything, paying for everything. Like they want them to have all the opportunities, but that actually spoils.
Yeah.
And nothing's actually figuring it out. And he goes, I got kids and I got grandkids now. And I'm still trying to figure out legacy. He's like, I got billions of dollars of revenue in all my 113 businesses.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm trying to think about true legacy with my family because I know that if I give them the money, it's going to ruin them.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, good on us. And I was so thankful for it. I got lit up by people. They had to take me out and I had to have security detail to leave the room because I got bombarded by about 500 people. It was nuts.
Gosh.
Yeah, it was a wild
celebrity
thing.
overnight or over day, over speech. I don't, one of those.
Yeah, and that's actually a good lesson for people. You are one call away.
Yeah.
You are one meeting away. You are one experience or event or whatever it would be, one group that you join away from your life completely transforming. And this has happened for me over and over and over again for my family and my business. So I just really want to encourage everybody out there that's just hustling and driving and working on things. Like you're one call away. You're one text away. Tony met us at a business fair in Phoenix for a give back that we do. The business fairs, I helped start that with Jeff. Now there's thousands of them all over the world. Well, we do ours here, hundreds of kids, and we had 500 customers, and I launched them after talking about profit and pitch and the economy, and they go to their booths and they sell. Well, Tony's business partner walks straight over to me. He's like, who the heck are you? And what the heck is this? Next thing you know, 2 days later, I'm on a private Zoom with Tony for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And that's how all this started. So I want to encourage everybody listening, like all the problems in your life, all the issues in your family and your business or your marriage or your kids or your finances, your one podcast, interview, article, meeting, text, call, you're one away. You got to keep that mindset because you only fail if you quit. You only fail if you give up.
Yeah.
Right. That's really the truth of life. People are like, oh, it must be nice, Scott. You've had all these exits and IPOs and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, if you had any idea the 1,000 failures, the 1,000 fires, like, man, we haven't even got into it, but I've been on FBI watch lists because of an inventory shipping problem from Japan. I've had websites crash with 50,000 people on them at one time with a dozen lawsuit threats that came about 2 minutes later. I've had people steal millions. Everyone goes through crazy. And the goal is just to hang in there. You can only fail if you quit. You only fail if you quit. And the same is true with your family. Your kids, guess what? You're their parent for the rest of your life.
Yep.
And your kids, I want to say this. If you're not raising kids, you're raising future adults.
Yeah.
And you are one call away, you're one, app away, you're one meeting away from finding the right tools to really unlock the value of family. You really are.
Did Scott not bring the fire today? Let's go. If you're not pumped up, then turn this off, go somewhere else. That was freaking awesome, man. Thank you. Thank you so much for just being you, being a blessing in general, but coming and just giving back to our audience. I know this is life-changing because the principles that you're talking about, the values you're talking about have already been life-changing, and they're going to continue to do the same thing. Go check out gravystack.com, get the app, get the tool. More importantly, look at Dinner Table, get involved in the community. I'm doing it myself personally also. And the link that's around here, lean in. He's offered a call. Listen to what's going on. He's already built this perfectly. So you're going to be able to meet him and his team wherever they're at and wherever you're at and find that perfect match and take that next step forward. I appreciate you so much, Scott.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you too.
Hey, and I appreciate all of you listening and watching today because you can't see me, but I'm still here. Here we go. Boom. Surprise. I appreciate your time and attention. We take it seriously just like we do our own. That's why we find the best real entrepreneurs that are getting real results. Not only has Scott had multiple exits, he's got the world's best coaches, Tony Robbins and others, tracking him down to say, how do I solve this problem? Because he is the one that is solving it best. He's the one in the blue ocean creating it. I know it was valuable for you, and for more valuable content like this, this is the place to tune in. We'll see you guys next time.